Today I'm joined by Angelica Merritt, author of Womb Witch, a poetic and powerful exploration of inner cycles, intuition, and embodied wisdom. In this episode, we explore what it means to come home to yourself, to move in rhythm with your own truth, and to honor the quiet power within. Let's dive in. I'm Eva, and you're listening to Connected with Eva, the podcast on human connection.
About 3 weeks ago, I went to a doctor. It was just a normal GP appointment, and he asked me, "So, any problems with your periods?" And I think I didn't respond for a few seconds because I was so shocked. I'd never had this question before.
Honestly, I guess if I think about any time that I've seen a general practitioner as of my adult life, which has honestly not been very much, I really only went to an OBGYN for Western medicine, and I see like naturopaths and acupuncturists. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the natural medicine practitioners will ask me about it, but the GPs do not ask at all, which to me, I'm like, that's the fifth vital sign for women's health. That's such a clear indicator as to like what's going on without getting blood work done and seeing what's going on hormonally, that it's kind of maddening, right? That they that's the first time that you were asked that, because that's such an important thing for women's health, and to know if things are flowing in a certain way or not flowing in a certain way. So
I know, but also I was asked, and I said, I do have heavy periods. And then he was like, "Oh, okay, then." I guess that's okay.
okay. So like
Yes.
nothing.
So it was a question, almost like filling. Oh no, actually, he was filling a form where it was yes or no, yes or no, yes or no,
Oh,
and
wow. And
that
so
was, I guess, a no.
he didn't even
So I
ask you
was
if
just
that
like,
was
okay,
something. Wow.
I know, because I don't think there is the understanding in conventional medicine. So when he asks the question and he hears, yeah, have period, it's like, well, okay, I guess that's the end of the question because I don't know how to deal with that answer.
Right, right. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, hey, that's a large reason as to why I started years ago, like working in this space, because I was really
Yeah.
frustrated with these types of interactions. And I felt like they just kept happening over and over again. And, even when I would go to an OBGYN and tell them, like, I personally have endometriosis, and I have very, like, I sometimes experience like very, very painful periods or endometriosis episodes. And it was really bad there for a couple of years. And my doctors like weren't doing anything, and that was like what they specialized in. And so I just decided that I was going to take the clinical herbalism training that I already
Yeah.
had and learn how to, understand the reproductive space in a deeper and like actual functional way and holistic way. Because yeah, the Western medicine was definitely failing me and not helping me out at all. And so many
No.
people, like, I've heard so many
Exactly.
stories like yours. I mean, countless. It seems like every woman I talk to has a story like that, where, they tell the doctor that they're having issues when it comes to their menstrual cycle or fertility or a a long laundry list of different issues, and they aren't doing anything for them. It's just it's kind of wild to me, but it's
It's
definitely,
because it's not straightforward. And
yeah,
I
exactly.
find, especially here in the UK, unless it's something straightforward, very easy to diagnose, it's kind of always goes under the radar almost.
Right,
So you have to
right.
really go on your
Yeah,
own journey, which is why I think it's so
yep,
important to understand your body and how it
yes,
works. So what made
it
what
is.
made you write the book?
What made me write the book? Well,
Yeah.
a lot of different things. I mean, it's like I think I could write a book on why I wrote the book. One of the core like things that really sparked why I wanted to write this book were reproductive rights for women were rolled back in the US in 2022. They overturned Roe v. Wade. Reproductive rights and access were being taken away left and right. And it was very scary. It still is very scary. But when that happened, it inspired me to start writing immediately. I wanted to create something that was like a tangible resource that no one could take away. I mean, I guess technically someone could take away a book, but after you've read the book, it's
You
inside
have
of
the
your
knowledge.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like someone can't take away that knowledge. And so I've always wanted to write books. I'm a writer. I have other projects that I've worked on that I'm hoping to bring forth, but yeah, it's kind of like my love letter to all of the wombs of the world because
I love that.
yeah, I mean it's been such a magical process, and I keep saying in like a lot of the interviews that I've done and all of the workshops that I do is that like if you just take a moment and look around a room and any person who you like place your eyes onto, there's nothing in the room that was not made because of a womb. And there's no person that you know that their first home on this earth was inside of a womb. Like every
Yeah.
single person you know is inside of a womb. Every single chair, every single light bulb was made by someone that first was birthed through the womb. So it's so important for us to know about the womb space and know what a healthy womb means and to understand our cycles, because if we don't understand our cycles and what looks like a healthy functioning menstrual cycle, then we start to lose the health of the womb space as a collective. And when that happens, then there's no more light bulbs, there's no more desks. I like to remind people like how actually very important the womb space is.
If you're talking to someone who has no relation to their body as of yet, what would be the first thing, like one very simple herbal or self care practice you recommend starting with?
Oh, something that I recommend to people, and it's simple because I truly believe the most simple things are the most profound things, um, is doing a body scan. And essentially, what that means is to get into like a comfortable position. I like to lay down because I think it really allows us to just fully bring awareness into each and every part of our body, but to close your eyes and focus on every single part of your body, starting from your head and working your way down to your toes. And just like literally, like, thinking about your head to start, like the top of your head. Like, how does it feel? What's going on there? Do you feel any tension, tightness? Does it feel relaxed? And then moving your way down and asking those types of questions for every single part of your body. And when you're done with it,
Mhm.
going from your head all the way down to your toes, you might notice that you've been holding tension in a certain part of your body. And that's why you're having some backaches, or that's why you might having some tension headaches. And doing that with regularity will help you realize like what's going on in your body in such a basic level, but it's such a profound level because you can't know what is working for you when it comes to making lifestyle changes. So, say if you're having some health complications and you're doing things to try to help solve those health complications,
Yeah.
you won't know what's actually working if you don't know the basic state of your body when you began. And like when you started implementing those things, like what does it feel like after you've implemented them? So, really just taking time to slow down to check out like what's going on with your body is, to me, I think one of the most profound ways that you can start just to bring simple awareness as to what is happening inside of yourself and outside of yourself.
That's also part of a lot of affirmation exercises. They're always like, so ask a question that's uncomfortable to you and try to feel in what part of your body do you get tension when you say that. So
Yes.
I guess because we keep tension And where we keep tension, it can turn into disease eventually.
Yes.
So that's why I love that. It's very important to it, have that kind of mindful practice daily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it really echoes out into every other facet of your life, because when you have that awareness of your body, then you start to see like, oh, when I eat this food, I'm starting to feel a certain way. When maybe if you're not really inhabiting your body that much, you might just like not actually put it together. You
Yeah.
might not actually like realize that what you ate is upsetting you, or you're just not willing to accept that you need to stop eating this certain thing, or being in this certain relationship, or doing a certain activity that's not
Yeah.
actually benefiting your body. It's like, yeah, the embodiment and awareness, it's I don't think it can be stressed enough, like the importance behind that. It really is so important. So,
I mean, I've never paid so much attention to how my body feels than maybe for the last few months. And I was like,
mm,
okay, so after this experience, I feel extremely tense. I don't think this experience is for me. Although
ah,
sometimes because I also get anxiety, so I have this thing where I'm like, so is this anxiety or is this genuine tension in my gut feeling speaking to me? So there's that
right.
level of confusion a little bit.
Yeah, I can very much understand that. I'm a highly sensitive person. I don't know if you're familiar with that realm at all, but it's been really profound for me to understand myself on that level, and understand that I am highly sensitive.
Yeah.
So certain environments are just going to activate me in a certain way. And sometimes that activation is good because it's going to push my boundaries in a way that I need. And then other times I realize that it's not conducive to any part of my growth, and that I should just not do it?
But
But
that's
it's,
exactly why we need to know, because
yes,
the more we know, the more we can recognize this is the
yes,
situation. This also some situations you cannot leave for whatever reason.
right,
So because we live also in a world where there are many other people, many experiences, so there will be certain things that make us uncomfortable,
right.
and that's okay. But there are certain things where we shouldn't be in these situations at all. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like me, I should never go to a very crowded music festival. Like that would be very bad for my nervous
Yeah.
system, I mean,
Yeah.
it looks fun. I love music, I love
Yeah.
dancing, but I've come to the conclusion that it's just not the best environment for me.
Yeah, but it's funny that because there's so many energy. So are you quite empathic, and do you pick up people's energies quite a lot?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can understand that. There's
Yes.
a lot. There's a lot of people around.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't work for me usually, because of that, because of the empathic qualities. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, sometimes it's really great. I love creative writing.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of creative writers are highly sensitive and empathic, and that's what makes their writing interesting and invigorating. So I do enjoy like that quality of myself, and like exactly what you were just saying, like
Yeah.
selectively exposing myself to different environments for that reason. But whenever it's just too much, like a music festival, for example, then it just becomes like static, and it's like I can't even wade through the chaos to turn this into creative writing, let alone a fun experience.
Well, as someone who's in touch with your body, if you have to be in a situation like that, what
Mhm.
would you recommend someone does after
Mm,
like such a stressful environment? Because obviously, again, sometimes you
yeah.
just cannot avoid it.
No, you can't. It happens.
Yeah.
For me, grounding. So if I am in a situation like that, and I have the ability, if say it's an outside situation,
Yeah.
and I can take off my shoes and my socks and plant my feet on the earth safely without it being, dirty and dirty,
Yeah,
not
or
good.
someone step on your feet.
Yeah, yeah. So, like,
Yeah.
if I can do that, I will do that, but if I can get my hands on a tree or something, like, and just ground my energy through the earth and just breathing, like, slowly through my nose and out through my mouth, uh, that's something that can get me through the moment, and if I don't have access to the earth, say I'm inside, just closing my eyes and imagining like that I'm breathing in like the grounded energy, and when I'm exhaling, my energy is like being shot into the earth below me and grounding me and like anchoring me. That is something that every single time, like fail safe, it helps like anchor me back into not being as overstimulated. It just can bring all of my energy back into my body in a really solid way.
When you're in a place where it's too busy, whether it's the tube or something like that, the
Mhm.
underground, because it's so rushed and because there's so many anxious energies around, you find yourself becoming almost detached from yourself.
Yeah.
Because I like to obviously analyze everything quite a lot, so I'm
Mhm.
noticing that, and with myself when I'm there, and this is how I react, and I don't like this at all because you become a negative energy almost.
Right, right. Well, it's like your body's way of like protecting itself, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is too much. This is too much energy, and it feels like a vacuum. I just spent the past 2 weeks in New York City, and so
Oh,
every time I went to the subway, I felt the
yeah.
exact same thing. Like I could feel like that my mind was like wanting to disassociate from the situation because like you're saying, it's so busy. There's lots of smells. I don't know how it is with the tube because I haven't yet
Yes, a lot of smells as well.
lots of smells, lots of people, lots of
Yeah.
energy, and it's you're like under this tunnel. It's a strange feeling
It's very
anyways.
claustrophobic as well because
Yes,
it's
exactly. Yeah.
there's no escape really. So
No, there's not. Yeah, and I don't like that scenario at all. I found myself getting slight tension headaches from it because it was like I was like fighting with that overwhelming urge to, like you're saying, like disassociate in a way, and like just kind of you kind of like have to leave your like your body in a certain way, because yeah, it feels safer to do that.
because obviously this is not a normal environment for the body. It's
Yep.
not a natural environment for it, so it's kind of
Right.
doing whatever it can
Yep.
to disassociate from the environment.
Yeah, exactly. And and something else that I feel like is worth sharing that I found myself doing in that situation, and I do often as well in like very crowded public situations, are I imagine that I have like a bubble of white light surrounding my body and protecting me. And if I feel like really intense energy from someone who's sitting next to me or a crowd that I'm just surrounded by, like I really can feel the protection from that white light. And, some people might say, oh, that's all in your head. And that's fine. Maybe it is, but maybe it's not because, and either way, if it is or if it isn't, it works, you
Well,
know?
they
Yeah.
do say that when you imagine something, your body doesn't know the difference between it being real or just in your
Yeah.
head.
Right. Exactly. And if it works, if I can feel some of that pressure dissipate and I can feel more embodied in a really crowded space, then I think that's really powerful. And that's something worth utilizing as a tool, which I utilize it as a tool daily, multiple times a day. So,
Nice. And
yeah,
what about moments, for example, if your life gets very busy, even if it's with things that you like, but it's just busy, busy, busy. So
yeah,
you don't necessarily have a good amount of time to do your normal grounding techniques or
yeah.
do mindful meditation. What do you think is good to do then?
If I'm too busy, I mean, Hmm. I guess in the most simple way, it would be drinking like a cup of herbal tea. Like if
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
really, really rushing around and just so busy with life, just making sure that I'm at least having like a warm herbal beverage in the morning. Because I have, a very deep connection with
Yeah.
plants and herbs, and I find them to be so grounding. And I think that they have the ability to be grounding for really everyone because we all have connections with plants in everything that we do. If you've had black pepper on your food or salt,
Of course,
it's
yeah.
of the earth. I mean, salt's
Yeah.
not a plant, but you get my drift. It's, we have connections with the earth. So I think just taking a moment to like, and even if the moment is me rushing around taking sips of the tea, like I really feel that helps me ground into my body, and it nourishes me in like a deeper way that than like water from the tap is going to,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
that prevents, I guess, prevents feeling of overwhelm, which is
Yes,
which you'll get otherwise if you just don't stop or don't do anything
exactly.
to pace things a
Exactly.
little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my go-to is holy basil tulsi tea,
Oh,
and it
I need to check
is
this out.
so grounding. It's incredible. I describe it as like a shoulder rub after a long day. And if I'm super busy, if I have to like be on the road for many hours or
Yeah.
travel, I grab a thermos of tulsi holy basil tea, and it is just so grounding and like nourishing. It feels like my safe space in a cup.
I'll have to buy that now.
Yeah, yeah, it's
For
so
sure.
lovely. It's lovely in so many ways. So yeah.
Nice. And by the way, I'll go back to the book and I wanted to ask, what does womb magic? Because I just love the name. What does it mean to you personally?
What does it mean to me personally? It means so many different things. I have a definition in my book that it describes like what a womb witch is, and it's essentially a person that feels the pull to be in touch with their body in a holistic way and learn about their body in a way that allows them to connect with the world around them in a deeper, more intentional way. Uh, I think that whenever we learn about the cycles and rhythms of our own bodies, it allows us to not only feel empowered, but it instructs us to recognize the importance of every phase of the cycle, and not only like the menstrual cycle, but our life cycle. It shows us that
Yeah.
there's deep importance in like promoting the celebrations of puberty, of
Yeah.
pregnancy, of postpartum, of, choosing not to have children, of menopause, perimenopause. They're things that we all go through collectively if you have a womb. And they're things that are not at all and haven't traditionally been celebrated in my culture. And I'll just assume that it goes for the
Yeah.
majority of the people in the UK as well. And I think that needs to change, and that's what I hope to create with Womb Witch, and that's what I think that people who want to tap into their womb magic, I think that's what will become of it, because I think you can't help to want to spread the word of the magic in knowing your own body once you learn about it. It's just so powerful and incredible, and yeah, it's demystifying. It's taking away the shame of being like, oh, I guess I'm
Yeah.
bleeding again, or oh, like
But you
I
know how they were doing, I don't know until recently, period adverts with blue liquid. So, because it's so
right,
terrible,
right,
it's so
yeah,
embarrassing, right?
one
Or
hundred.
even buying period pads.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh, even I have like, not it hasn't even been probably a full decade where I haven't walked through a
Yeah.
store and like hid the tampons under my arm, because
Yeah.
like when I'm going to check them out and that's the only thing I have, like I'm hiding that box. But like I've started to not do that, but it's really ingrained in us. Yeah, exactly. Like the blue on the
Exactly. It's
period.
a societal thing because you kind of see it everywhere. So it
Yep,
takes a lot to to get out of that mindset. By the way, I
exactly.
wanted to ask something else. Is there something when it comes to periods specifically that's very common that might be something worth checking that people don't know about?
Okay, so something that I find many people are not aware about, but they should be aware about
Yeah.
is cervical fluid. So that's the fluid that comes from our cervix. It is either fertile fluid or not fertile fluid, and it's also called discharge. And many people, myself included, for almost 2 decades, well, no, 2 decades of my life, the first 2 decades of my life, they believe that it's actually something you're supposed to get rid of, that it's dirty, that it's not a sign of a healthy vagina, but it actually is like a sign of a healthy womb space 100%. And not only that, but it lets us know that we are either fertile or not fertile. And it tells us when we are fertile and not fertile. And this is really important because it is something that is a vital sign of our womb space health. And, whether you want to get pregnant or you don't want to get pregnant, and whether that's going to change or not, it's really important to know what different parts of your cycle, like what different types of fluid you're going to be experiencing. So I have a couple of clients and many different people in my life who aren't aware when they're ovulating,
Yeah.
and maybe they've never ovulated and they have uh, PCOS or other menstrual conditions that may make them not have a
Yeah.
period at all, like they won't bleed at all. I think that's something that should be promoted in
I've
like
never heard
in our
anyone speak about that and what it means.
Yeah, it's and there's so much to learn about it, but I mean, essentially there's different phases of the menstrual cycle and each phase has a different fluid. And it's also important to know that if you're on birth control pills
Mm.
or certain medications, then you might not have that fluid that will help you know what different phases you're in. You're not going to likely have the fertile fluid. But that's something to learn about. That's something that I talk about in my book, and like an introductory level. But that is something that I try to talk about as much as I can because our vaginas and our womb spaces, like everything's happening for a reason, and
Yeah.
there is
For sure.
discharge that can be bad, but like are the discharge, like the fluid that comes from our cervix and out through our vaginas is like incredibly important. It's like literally cleaning and keeping our vaginas and our womb space healthy.
Well,
So
this is the first I've ever heard of it. So it's
yeah,
incredible. I mean, nobody talks about they don't talk about periods, let alone this, so
I feel like I've told this for the like told people this for the first time to so many people, and I have people I've spoken to who are 80 years old and they didn't even know about this, which they're well beyond the reproductive years, and they had no clue that there was fluid that they needed to be looking for to see when they were ovulating.
I mean, I had my appointment with a gynecologist about maybe 3 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
again, never mentioned ever. Nothing.
Yeah. I've never had a gynecologist ask me about my cervical fluid ever. They've never told me about it. It's, all things that I've went out and learned on my own. So it's wild.
I know. It's like, it's so important.
Yeah.
It's our body, and
Yeah.
it's showing us if we work properly. And there's no knowledge or
Yeah.
understanding, or so you kind of have to go and find things out on your own.
Yeah. No, you really do. And Yeah. Yeah. So I guess going back to like, why did I write this book? Well, I wanted to tell everyone about cervical fluid. I like literally when I found out about this the first year, the amount of times that cervical fluid came up in a conversation was probably awkward for most people because I was just like,
It's
can
so
you
interesting for
believe
me because I need to know this.
yeah, it's so fascinating. I'm like, what? How are we not told this? This is so cool. Like, I could have known when I was fertile and not fertile, like for
Yeah.
this entire time. It's just, yeah, mind-boggling to me.
So, what's one other message that you'd like to share from the book
Hmm.
to end the episode with?
Let me think. Um, so one of my favorite parts of the book was the way that I got to weave scientific elements with spiritual elements
Yeah.
because I think that the two are intertwined so deeply, more deeply than they would like us to believe. But I see so much science and spirituality, and so much spirituality and science. And I like to act as like a bridge between both of those worlds. And I have rituals that I have written out for every phase of the menstrual cycle, and then as well as like every phase of uh, the reproductive life cycle. So it's called Maiden, Mother, Crone, and I have different
Love that.
rituals for that. Yeah, and I have rituals for different womb experiences. So, like if you have endometriosis, PCOS, fibroids, I have some sort of like activity that you can do to work with that experience that you're having in your body. And I guess what I'm trying to say in a very long winded way is that there's a lot of profound healing that can take place whenever you ritualize uh, a moment or an experience that you're having. So, say that you're having a hard time connecting with the luteal phase of your menstrual cycle, which is the last phase in the
Yeah.
menstrual cycle. It, Turning it into a ritual, and you don't have to do like the ritual from my book, but just doing something to intentionally connect with that experience that you're having is just really potent. And, whether that's just doing a body scan during that part of your cycle every single day, or, putting your hand over your womb space and saying some positive affirmations to yourself, or there's so many different things that one can do. And I think that if we like turn in that direction when we're looking at like holistic health or ways that we can learn about our body, then I think it makes it more magical. And when it's more magical, it feels like uh, a really cool experience, and
Yeah.
it helps you like celebrate your human experience and like the parts of being human that can sometimes be difficult, but it can help you see like what you can learn from it whenever you do things in a more intentional, magical way. If that does that make sense?
Absolutely, because when you do that, that experience becomes part of you rather than something external. So
Yes,
I feel like this is really important. I've started doing, I've started to try to be more aware with most things I do, even if they're quite trivial, because there's no such thing as a trivial thing at the end of the day.
exactly. I completely agree. And when you do that, it makes everything else uh, mean so much more. You don't take the little things for granted, and then I guess going back to magic, it makes life more magical. It makes everything more magical when you really like see the importance of the small things and celebrate them and bring awareness to them.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.